it's actually God at work. Do you see it? So as we come back to my original question, how do we see God in our ordinary, everyday lives? And one of the truths that I pull from this story is that a big way that happens for me is through other believers. See, I'm kind of thick-headed, and many times God is clearly at work, and I completely miss it. Maybe later that day or later next week, I might be like, I wonder if that was actually God. I kind of just missed it. But a lot of times it's the people in my life. It's Melanie saying, hey, that was God, or one of my close friends, or one of the believers that I worship with, one of you coming and saying, hey, don't you see? That was God at work. For me, a repeated theme for me is how vital it is that we do faith in community. We can't just try to follow God in a vacuum by myself, because I need your faith. We all need each other's faith to maybe point out where God is at work in the background. That was not a chance encounter. That was God's providence. And so that's what's happening. Ruth thankfully has Boaz and Naomi to say, let's point our eyes to the Lord here. And secondly, I want to maybe think about ourselves. Maybe there's some practices that we could adopt to align ourselves more with the presence of God. One of the best writers on this idea comes in the 1600s. There was a man named Brother Lawrence. He wrote a little tiny book called Practicing the Presence that's still in print to this day, and it's a wonderful book. Brother Lawrence was a monk, and he was insistent that you don't have to go to the chapel to meet with the Lord. You can meet with the Lord in the kitchen, in the field, at work, in those chance encounters along the road. God is always walking with his children. And so Brother Lawrence really taught this lifelong practice, this sense of daily, constantly walking with the Lord. God actually does want a relationship with you, and this constant dialogue with our Creator. And so this Advent season, as we are in this period of waiting for the hope, the peace, the joy, the love, and the light of the Lord to come into our lives, maybe a quick little exercise. You could try this maybe start with once a day. Brother Lawrence would do it many, many times a day. But a simple practice you could start with silence, maybe 60 seconds of silence. Turn off your phone, turn off the radio. Just make sure you're clearing away all the distractions. There's so much noise in our world today. And then say a simple prayer to reorient my attention back to the Lord. Maybe just pray, God, help me see you in the ordinary today. Or, God, help me attune myself to your presence in my life. And it's just that little moment of silence, clearing away the distractions, and asking God to reorient me toward your presence, toward your voice, that I think starts to do a lot in our walk with faith. What I've noticed as I practice that, the gap between the moment God is moving and my recognition of the moment starts to get smaller and smaller, right? And so, because there's many times where, again, God is moving and I don't realize it until later that night or the next day. But if I'm daily in this posture of practicing the presence of the Lord to say, I want to clear away distractions. God, help me to attune myself to your presence, to your voice. Then that gap starts to get smaller and smaller, where sometimes it's actually in the very moment that God is moving and I'm realizing this isn't a coincidence. God's hand is here. He's actually working. And so the people in our lives, they can help point out when God is on the move, and maybe a simple practice like that. Clear away the distraction, turn my mind back to the Lord so that we can start to close that gap and see how God is moving in our ordinary, everyday lives. And I do notice how often God seems to work through chance, through coincidence. That's not actually a coincidence. There's so many times in my own life where that's happened. One that really came to mind for me this week, going all the way back to the first year of our marriage, Melanie and I were renting a small studio apartment on the grounds of a couple that went to our church at the time. And this thing was small. We had our bed that fit almost the entire room. The foot of our bed was a little camper stove and mini fridge. That was our kitchen. We had no room for the microwave, so that was under the bed. If we had to warm up our food, we had to get down and warm up our food under the bed. So that was our first home we lived in. But the rent was only $400 a month, so that was a great deal. But finances were really tight that first year. So at some point within that first year, we were sitting down, working on our finances, doing the math that month, and we realized that our bills are due at the end of this month, and we owe $400 exactly. We don't know where this money is coming from. We're going to be short $400 this month for all of our bills. What are we going to do? Let's start scrambling. We got to make some more money. I don't know how. The very next day, this couple had no idea that we were struggling. They didn't know that we were just having this conversation. They didn't know any of this. And they came to us and said, hey, we were just praying, and we felt like God wanted us to just let you live here rent-free for as long as you need.